Today, we're tackling a fascinating story about a workplace accident, but this one is anything but simple. We've got an employee's lie on one side, an employer's duty on the other, and it all boils down to one really tough question. Who's actually responsible? So let's put you in this situation for a second. You get hurt on the job. Your first thought? Your employer's got to be to blame, right? But what if a choice you made, a little lie you told, is actually what led to the accident? Suddenly it's not so clear. Who foots the bill? Let's get right into it. All right, so to really get our heads around the legal side of things, we've got to start with the story. And it all kicks off with one guy and one really bad decision he made just to land a job. So, let me introduce you to our main character. We'll call him Val. Val is desperately looking for work. He's got his eye on a position as a lathe operator, and yeah, he's really feeling the pressure to get hired. So he walks into his interview with the hiring manager, Wilma. And Val, he puts on a great show. He talks himself up as this super skilled, experienced pro. You know, exactly the kind of person she's hoping to find. He nails every question, seems totally confident, and he gets the job. But here's the catch, the big problem. Everything Val said, it was a complete lie. He'd never even touched a lathe in his life, not once. And that one single lie, well, it's about to cause a whole lot of trouble. I mean, you can probably guess where this is going, right? You put someone with zero experience on a piece of heavy machinery, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So let's watch how this whole thing unfolds. And it's not pretty. And the fallout from that lie? It happens fast. We're talking his very first day on the job. His total lack of knowledge means he makes a huge mistake, and bam, he gets seriously injured. It's a direct line from the lie to the injury. Okay, so what does Val do? He sues his boss, Wilma. And this is where things get really, really messy. I mean, who's at fault here? Is it Wilma for maybe not doing her due diligence and checking his skills? Or is it all on Val for lying to get the job? That's the core legal puzzle we're going to try to solve. All right, to figure this out, let's look at it from Wilma's perspective. What can she argue in court? Turns out there are two really important legal ideas that are key in situations like this. Okay, the first one is a bit of a mouthful. It's called contributory negligence. But the idea is actually pretty simple. It basically says that if you get hurt, but you yourself were careless or didn't take reasonable steps to protect your own safety, then you've got to shoulder some of the blame for what happened. The second concept is called assumption of the risk. Now, this one comes up when someone knows the exact dangers of what they're doing, and they just say, yep, I'll do it anyway. The classic example is a stunt driver, right? They know exactly what could go wrong, but they accept those risks as part of the job. So which one of these fits Val's situation? Well, assumption of the risk, that doesn't really work, does it? How could Val have known the specific dangers of a lathe when he didn't know the first thing about it? He couldn't. But contributory negligence, oh yeah, that fits like a glove. He was absolutely careless by lying about his skills, and that single act put him square in the line of fire. Okay, so we've landed on contributory negligence. Let's use that idea and apply it step by step to exactly what happened with Val. You can literally draw a straight line from his lie to his injury. Think about it. Step 1, Val had a basic duty to be honest, if only to protect himself. Step 2, he completely ignored that duty by lying. Step 3, that lie is the only reason he was in a position to make that huge mistake. And Step 4, that mistake is what got him hurt. It's a perfect chain of events. So here's the bottom line, legally speaking. The law looks at this and sees a direct cause and effect. Val's injuries aren't just some random, unlucky accident. No, they are a direct consequence of him not telling the truth. All right, so we've established that Val played a pretty big part in his own accident. So what does that mean for his lawsuit against Wilma? How does this all shake out in the end? Well, the legal precedent here is actually really clear. It says that because of Val's contributory negligence, Wilma can use that as a defense to, and this is the key phrase, limit her liability. Now, that doesn't mean she gets off scot-free, but it's a total game changer for the case. But what does limit her liability actually mean in real money? Well, it's pretty straightforward. A court is going to look at this and say, okay, Wilma might have some share of the blame here, but Val is also responsible for a big chunk of it. So any money Wilma has to pay out in damages gets slashed to account for Val's own fault. So what are the big takeaways here? First, being honest about what you can and can't do on a job application, that's not just, good practice, it's a legal duty. You have to keep yourself safe. Second, your own carelessness can seriously shrink the amount of money you might get in a lawsuit. And third, the law isn't always about finding one person who's 100% wrong. It's often about balancing the blame. And get this whole scenario isn't just hypothetical. It's based on a real case from 1969 called Carey versus Carter. And all of this really leaves us with a big, lingering question, doesn't it? Where do we draw that line? Where does a company's responsibility to keep its workers safe end, and the employee's own responsibility to just be honest begin? It's a tricky balance, and it's a question that cases like this really force us to think about.